Hello, owl friends. It's Rachelle, and I wanted to share a book with you today. So, before I tell you the title, I'm going to just show you the front cover. And every time you're reading a book, sometimes, even if you don't know how to read the words, you can just look at the picture and decide what you think this book is about. What do you guys think this book is about? If you said an owl or a bird, you're right. But I want to ask you, think. How do you think this bird, this owl, is feeling? Can you see his face? He's actually feeling a little bit frightened. Frightened. Can you say that? Frightened is another word for a little scared and maybe a little bit worried too. This book is called The Frightened Little Owl, and it's by Mark Ezra. He's the author of this book. That means he wrote the words. And Gavin Rowe, he drew the pictures. Okay, The Frightened Little Owl. Can you see that little owl in there? There she is. I'm going to turn it just a little bit. There we go. Snug in a nest in the tallest tree sat little owl, who looked like a feathery ball with big golden eyes. Each night she watched her mother spread her wings and glide silently over the treetops to hunt for some food. Can you see? That's the baby little owl's mother up there. Little owl always felt alone and afraid as she waited for her mother to come. All she could hear outside the nest was the rustling of branches and the howling of the wind. The world seemed a cold and frightening place. Little Owl tugged at the soft lining of her nest with her beak and wrapped it close around her. It made her feel safe. Sometimes when I'm feeling a little frightened or anxious, I like to snuggle myself with a blanket. That's kind of like what little owl is describing here. She's pulling the soft lining of her nest around her and holding it close. You will be able to fly soon like me, said little owl's mother one day. Just imagine how wonderful it will feel when you can soar silently in the night with the wind beneath your wings. But I don't want to fly, cried little owl. It's scary out there. I want to stay here in my nest forever. And she nestled down into the hole again. She's feeling a little nervous about flying. Come with me, little owl, said Mother Owl one evening. Come and choose your own supper tonight. You'll enjoy that. Little Owl scrambled after her mother onto a branch, but when she saw how far down it was to the ground, she felt kind of dizzy. I never want to fly, said Little Owl, and she went back into the nest, and Mother Owl flew off all alone. Little Owl snuggled down and waited for her supper. Do you guys know what supper is? Supper is another word for dinner. Some people call it supper and some people call it dinner. Outside in the woods, the sun set and the moon came out, and Little Owl began to feel hungry, but there was no sign of her mother. Surely she should have been back by now. There's a bunch of other creatures that only come out at nighttime. In this book, I can see a bat and an owl, and later on there's going to be some other animals. Little Owl was very worried. What if something awful had happened to her mother? Little Owl plucked up all her courage and hopped out onto a branch. Somehow she felt less dizzy than she had before, and the ground didn't seem so far away. She took another step and at that moment, a terrific gust of wind sprang up and Little Owl lost her footing and she fell down, down, down. She tried to spread her wings and she was flying. She was flapping madly. Little Owl tried to reach her own branch, but the wind was too strong and she fell to the earth. Oh. Owls know what to do. She knew that when she was in the air, she should start flapping her wings. But she's just learning. Sometimes when we just learn how to do something for the first time, we don't always do it right the first time. You have to keep practicing. And Little Owl has to practice so she can fly. Ouch, cried Little Owl as she hit the ground. Well, that wasn't too bad for a beginner. Why don't you try again, said a voice nearby. Little Owl looked up and saw a young fawn. I want my mother. She flew away and I'm scared she won't come back. I bet she will, said the fawn. If you listen, you will hear her. And sure enough, from far across the trees, Little Owl heard a familiar sound. What sound does a mother owl make? Coo, coo, hoo, hoo. Yes, that's her, cried Little Owl in excitement. Saying goodbye to the fawn, she ran and flapped across the glade. Oh, she was trying again. She was trying again to start flying. Mother, mother, Little Owl cried, and before she knew it, she was flying. Well done, said the fawn, called out to the Little Owl. She rose higher and higher. The young owl flew on, but her mother always seemed to be just ahead of her. Mother, mother, cried Little Owl, wait for me. Don't fly off again. She began to feel like she would never catch up. In her hurry, Little Frightened Owl bumped into a tree. She fell to the ground, disturbing a family of mice who were out looking for supper. So now we found the other animal. Little mice are sometimes out at night. Run! Cried the mother mouse to her babies. Run! It's an owl! There was a scuffle of tiny paws and the little mice vanished. I wonder why the mice had to run away. Might be something to think about. It was very quiet in the woods now, and Little Owl felt alone. She gave a small sob. Mother, where are you? Do you know what a sob means? That's another word for a cry. I'm right here, said a familiar voice. You don't really think I would ever leave you, did you? I've been watching over you all the time, hoping you would fly, and now you can. Well done, Little Owl. Little Owl blinked. Yes, she could fly. She gave a whoo-hoo of delight, spread her wings, and flew around the glade. She dipped and soared towards the morning sky. Her mother was right. Flying was wonderful. Little Owl figured out that flying was wonderful after all. The end. Here is the back cover of the book. Sometimes the back cover has a little bit of words on it, some information about the book, and sometimes it has a picture. You see some pictures on the back cover? So this is the front cover, and this is the back cover. The next time you're looking at a book, maybe you can find where the front cover is and the back cover is. All right, see you soon, owls. Woo-hoo!